Hello and welcome back to Talon 101. Hwoarang's While Standing 1 has officially been replaced with his old DF1+2 from Tekken 7, so goodbye to the legacy animation and hello old animation from Tekken 7. It is not a standing move, it is only a while standing move, but it being 12 frames is pretty neat, and if this was all he got, that'd be pretty good. But instead, they gave him While Standing 1.4, which is basically a mirrored version of DF1.3. So instead of going to Left Flamingo Stance, you're going to Right Flamingo Stance. So we're gonna tackle these moves one by one. So we're gonna start with While Standing 1 first, as this is the base, and it comes out at 12 frames, is +8 on hit, and -3 on block. That's more or less what While Standing 1 was, or DF1+2 was, before it got moved to a while standing input, but it is 1 frame faster, and that's a big deal. So it'll probably come out at 14, 15 to 16 frames when you're doing it from a crouch dash or instant while standing. If you want to add it along with like while standing 4, so DF1, while standing 1, and while standing 4, pretty good mid pokes to have. Now, its tracking supposedly tracks towards the right. It was basically like DF1, but when checking it after down back 3, Lily avoids While Standing 1 pretty much all the time. The only time she doesn't avoid it is when you are plus. So that's +6 or +7. So based on this short testing, it does track towards the right if the opponent's sidestep is weaker, but if their sidestep is strong, do not expect the move to track versus the right. But if an opponent is indeed backdashing after this move on hit, you can use a DF1 right afterwards. Not bad. But you must mind the range, because if you hit While Standing 1 far away from the opponent, at DF1, you will whiff. The real sauce is in While Standing 1.4. So the second hit comes out at 22 frames, and it's +8 on hit and 0 on block into Right Flamingo Stance. Now that frame data, when you hear Right Flamingo Stance beside it, makes it really good, because if this was Left Flamingo Stance, that would have been a bit iffy, just like DF1.3, but +8 and 0 on block is such a big deal. And the damage, because this used to be Hwoarang's strongest while standing punish. You know, a fast one, because he didn't have a 12, he didn't have a 13. If you wanted that, you'd have to like crouch cancel into the jabs or crouch cancel into 4-3, and that would really upgrade Hwoarang's punish. But now you don't even have to do that crouch cancel, because now you can just do While Standing 1.4 and you get it into Right Flamingo Stance, which is the more deadly stance, most especially if you have heat active. Imagine that, hitting the opponent here and then locking them with a heat dash, Hell Sweep, RFS 4-3, or if they pressed, you know, RFS F4-4. And it makes While Standing 4-4 sit in a very interesting spot. It's 5 damage away, and its frames are on the fair side when he enters right foot forward on hit. This is not so much on the fair side when like he's +8. And since most lows are -12 on block, you can pretty much always use While Standing 4 as your main, While Standing 1.4 as your main punish, rather than While Standing 4-4. Now, of course, this is the fail-safe, because on hit or on block, you're completely fine. On hit and on block, even if this frame data is pretty good, you'd have to commit to specific buttons, because again, you're locked in stance, when compared to While Standing 4-4, you're just stuck in right foot forward and you can block. That's again the biggest thing you can block. So like the value here is how you're handling the situations, and if you want that ability to move. But if you're just using it as a punisher, well, for as long as you're pressing the button immediately and you're not losing to, let's say, a parry reversal or sabaki, or even an evasive move, you're completely fine. So that's the first thing we have to check then, right? What kind of challenges can Hwoarang lose to? So we're gonna look for a power crush right away and do one of the best mids you could do, which is Flying Eagle. You're safe. Which means at 16 frames, you're okay. But are all 16 frames created equal? Of course not. So RFS back 3 is not an option you're considering here. Can you use RFS DF4? You can. Again, this is a mid power crush. This will change significantly if you're going up against a high power crush like Alisa's or Asuka's. But against those characters, most especially since RFS 4-3 exists, or even RFS 4 by itself, the opponent can't do that. And of course, you're allowed to like hit them with the lows. You can even be really safe with just an RFS 1 and you're good to go. So now that's power crushes, right? So we're gonna have to change this to a Rage Art. So we turn that into a Rage Art, and when I want to do Flying Eagle, I do get caught by a Rage Art. So 16 frame mids aren't really going to be saving you here if they're throwing out a Rage Art. Against a Power Crush, you will live, depending on that 16 frame mid. But you will not win against that Rage Art. So when the opponent does have Rage, let's say you punish a low with while standing 1-4 and they have Rage, the first option for you to commit to is an RFS 4-3, which could put you in a risky spot, most especially if the opponent still has Rage, so you just stick with like an RFS 4 instead. Generally speaking, that's still an okay situation, even if you're just playing against Rage, and the throw is still present there. So on hit, it's pretty damn good. And then on block, you're basically going to the RFS F4 mix-up because it's 0 on block. So if an opponent does attempt to jab in this situation, they can't jab like at all. So it's 2 hits, we wait for the 2 hits. So they have to respect it. And that forces them to either do down jab, and if they do the down jab, that's when you respond with Flying Eagle, RFS a forward 3, hit them with a Power Crush and RFS back 4, and if the frames permit it, you go with an RFS up forward 4. This is going to depend on like how you and your opponent are reacting in that situation, but for the most part, you are playing into that mix on block. But the one downside of while standing 1-4 is that the second hit does not give a guaranteed RFS F4. As you can see, the combo is not continuing. So if I do this off up 4, you see that turns into 3 hits. That's natural. If I do it off 2-4, that turns into 3 hits. That's natural. I do it after F4. That's natural. Do it after down back 4. That's 3 hits. That's still natural. This is not even about speed. No matter how much I mash on it, that third hit is not connecting to while standing 1-4. So as good as this 12 frame punisher is, you unfortunately cannot punish someone for throwing out a button, most especially if you have heat active, assuming this testing is correct. But of course, if an opponent continues to mash there, whether you have heat active or not, then yes, you will always get RFS F4. But besides that, while standing 1-4 is a fantastic 12 frame punish that I don't know if Hwoarang really needed. Like, if they reduced the damage on this and gave him the frames, that would give while standing 4-4 a little bit more room to operate, besides like the want to like be able to move if you didn't want to like commit the buttons all the time. But this is really strong, both on hit and on block, and it's probably the biggest game changer right beside Dark Halberd when it comes to Season 2 changes. Yeah, that's everything I know about while standing 1-4 or Twin Mustang. That's been the lesson for this video. Again, I've been Frontier, and thank you for watching.